I'm William Prince, and you're listening to The Sunday Verse. Well, hello everyone. Thank you again for following along on this journey exploring my new record, Gospel First Nation. We're here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, at the beloved Song Shop studio where I made my first record, and the record you're hearing now. As always, joined by my good friend Julie Penner, producer of The Sunday Verse. We're coming to the end of our time here on what I guess we would call our second season. I never thought that records would come with a whole explanation, but I used to have this thought that if I could only go to everybody's house and listen to my albums with them and explain what I'm trying to say, maybe that would help them be better received. And in a way, I get to do that here, and that's a really great thing. So if you've been listening or followed along, thank you so much for being a part of this. And I guess there's no goodbye, because I hope to come back and over-explain myself time and time again. Hopefully Julie Penner will come along and it'll be a good time again.
I hope so too.
So we're down to the last closing number here on the record, Gospel First Nation, this album that I wanted to use to talk about the ongoing conversation of the effects and reverberating effects, I guess, of the system put in place to colonize First Nations people in this country of Canada. I guess you could say Gospel First Nation was a way of me handling two common questions at the same time. You know, tell us about your First Nations background and tell us about your gospel background. You often talk about faith, and I started off saying that when I sing about Jesus, I sing about the Jesus that is prevalent in a lot of country songs out there. Jesus, take the wheel, and you know, the old faith of a lot of southern country songs, and of varying degrees. It's not hard to look into the history of most great songs, and there's a gospel foundation. Again, the gospel is the good news. That's what I was trying to do here, was bring the good news and use this album to touch on something that, truthfully, I'm learning to be more comfortable talking about. I went for so long living behind a certain idea, representation of myself, that I would be accepted first and foremost as an artist, judged only for the art they make, rather than treated less seriously because the first thing was he's a First Nation singer. And that was an important conversation to have and to show here. I believe Gospel First Nation is a great encapsulation of all the things I really admired about my dad. It highlights one of the best parts of our relationship, because in his passing I've learned a lot more about who he was as a human, as a person, a sinner of the world, just like I am, just like we are, just like the listener. The job that he did with what he had to work with and sharing music, it was always something special between us, something that I'll carry for the rest of my life. And who would have thought that those old records would lead to where we are today, talking about songs that I write. I think my dad is more alive each and every time I do this, when I sing and tour and play shows for people, get to share. I think the banter he had when he was a speaker for those AA conferences, I think that, and being able to hold himself in a room full of people, just like Charlie Pride would have been shaking, about to go speak in front of a bunch of white people who might have a preconception about who you are based on your skin color. I think of that. He gave me courage and bravery to go out there to do these things and have a still hand and a true heart. And I owe so much to his upbringing, and that happened to be singing these songs. And that's what this album is. This album is, like I said, an homage to things before me, a family history that I've gathered knowledge of in bits and pieces while he was alive, and I'm hoping to preserve for a little longer.
Can I ask about the song that we're going to include in this episode, Love Don't Ever Say Goodbye? So how does it fit in with the gospel record?
So giving that message where I consider his influence on my life, it's obvious that he's a big part of it, and his impact carries on. You know, even though he's not here in flesh anymore, every time I succeed, it's like he's succeeding somewhere too, and I pass the good things we had on to my son. Love don't ever say goodbye that way. His love will be felt and around, even though he's not. Not everybody had a father like I had. I understand that. You know, some fathers are terrible and some fathers are absent. I was lucky to have one that wouldn't give up on me and tried his absolute best to steer me in a direction that I would one day not need him. That was his goal, you know, but to still be close and want him around. And that's what we had. Large part and thanks to my mom and her patience and her beautiful heart and our family effort together. Gospel really was the good news for us in a time when we struggled as a family to stay together, victims of circumstance and being where we were, living in a house with no running water. Are you concerned with the size of your show when you've played to an audience of 8 most of your life in your humble little church? You know, let that ring out in me forever. Let me keep that. Let that never leave my heart, that I am just here in service. I think I've managed to collect something that can be documented as, again, that geographical sound imprint that I've envisioned, that this sings and speaks of a generation of people long before me, again, 100 years in the making, my grandfather singing these songs and refining them over time, and eventually my dad passing them down to me.
Do you think this album will ever be available in gas stations up and down the highway in the Interlake, just like your dad's records were?
I'm sure it could be. You know, I'm blessed that it's going to be everywhere else. You put it there because you could drive it there yourself, and you could drop off a box and hopefully the guy wouldn't rip you off and you could get the money back someday. More importantly, it was helping what was supposed to be some kind of grassroots marketing campaign. I'm blessed that I am heard at a capacity I only dreamed of, and that so many people take in my songs, and you're the breathless guy, and you're the varying degrees of whatever accomplishment I have, but I stand by that I have a duty here to be a great dad and take care of those I love, and that's what's important. And I do this music thing now in the same way I've kind of always done it. And it started at kitchen tables. It started in those old tents that we talked about. It started in those beginnings. That's going to carry on. That'll survive. I've been joined by incredible voices on this album. My band that joins me.
Your partner sings backup vocals on this. This is the first time you've recorded together?
Yep. Alicia and I, Julian Bradford, Kevin McLean, Christian Dugas, Eric Lemoyne, Patty Kusteruk joining us on this album, singing. It's a communal effort.
Scott,
of course. Producing as he's done in the past and creating something together. That's the beauty of this place, is that we're all willing to humble ourselves and serve the song. That's the message each and every time. And, this is historical in its sense, and I hope it's kept that way in some kind of alt. Northern Interlake Country Gospel, sung and interpreted by the First Nations people in love and service of the Lord and Savior. Thank you for listening to the Sunday Verse. I'm William Prince from Treaty 1 Territory, the Song Shop in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Special thanks to my friend and producer Julie Penner. Thank you for tuning in to this season. Thank you to Scott Nolan. Thank you to Jamie Sitar. And we're going to end this season with the final song on my new album, Gospel First Nation. This is Love Don't Ever Say Goodbye. Sweetheart, you ain't gotta be the sun today. Thank you for shining like you do. And mother, you can lay down for a little while now. Take care of these dishes for you. And sister, the orange sky is called our Father home. Brother, I will hold you as you cry. Though the sun goes down, it comes back around. 'Cause love don't ever say goodbye. So February's lost a day, even shorter now. Born and died on the same day. You were bigger than a mountain, but still mountains fade away. Only the wind here in your place thought that when the old ship fell apart, I would too. Built me too strong through and through. And what you were don't fade away if we keep on living life. Cause love don't ever say goodbye. Love don't ever say goodbye. That's why nothing's lost unless you wanna lose it. Instead of going around, let's go through it. 'Cause you can't have the good without the bad sometimes. But it ain't bad, child. 'Cause love don't ever say goodbye. Love don't ever say goodbye. Love don't ever say goodbye. Love don't ever say goodbye.